and stuff like that. So kind of like a broad spectrum of who sort of is in and who's out. I mean, that makes sense.
Like, as you're on the group ride, like those that you would try to encourage to like, come on, stay with us. Like,
yeah, sure.
Like help them out.
Yeah. Or who do you see on a typical group ride? Let me put it that way.
Who do I see?
Yeah, like when you're on your rides.
I see people struggling on that specialized ride because I'm still one of those guys that struggles.
Gotcha.
I can't remain at the front, the whole entire time with them either.
Yeah.
So I can still sympathize, with those that are getting popped off or those that, that they just can't hack it. But that's not the type of ride where you can be like, hey guys, can you slow down and wait for me and we'll try to work this out. You're either in it or you're out. But, like on the club rides, that I go on, that we have a ride that leaves on a Saturday and there's all different levels and you can back out. If you go on the quicker one, you can't keep up with them. You can always back off and like 5 minutes later, the next group's behind you.
Oh, okay. I got you.
So, but there's always this, even in that one and other ones, I've never seen, I don't know, maybe it's just the type of rider up here. I've never seen any like snide remarks from people or something like that. Like,
right.
You can't keep up with them.
Right.
Everyone seems to be pretty welcoming.
Yeah. Pretty supportive.
Yeah. And I think that those that can stick with each other and those that can pull away from each other, then they're on their own. And there's no bad feelings or anything like, oh man, they should have waited for me. It's not like that. It's not a talkative ride. It's a training ride.
Right. So people are training, to sort of enhance their fitness for their own personal, goals.
So here's a good example. We had a recruitment ride for SJVC race team on Saturday. And we're going around Lexington, Reservoir. And the first time around, a couple of the guys just like take off. And it's like, hey, get back here. This is supposed to be like coffee talk, time to ride. So you have to reel people back in and their response, they know that, okay, that's right. This is a recruitment ride. This is not like some training session. It's supposed to be like talkative pace. So you back down. So does that kind of like?
Yeah, sure. I can see that, right? Because last thing you want to do is, be recruiting people and then all of a sudden, they're just shattering the group and everyone's demoralized.
Like, no one even asked me my name.
In 5 seconds. Right. But recognizing that and kind of coming back around, I think is kind of interesting. So more inclusive, more welcoming, more able.
And that may be the first time, that people, that's their introduction to you. That if you're the group that sticks together, rather than just everyone splitting off and talking to each other later, people would be turned off by that.
Gotcha.
And I'm a little more friendly about it because our team we accept anybody. We're not like, oh no, sorry, you don't meet the qualifications.
Yeah.
Go find another team.
Yeah.
That's never been our motto.
Is that something that is that a feature of the team that, is kind of, meaningful for you?
Yes.
It is so welcoming?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cause I've been, years ago when I first started out, I applied to a couple of different teams that would have a team application. They're like, oh, you don't have enough experience. We're not that interested. And I was like, really? Like, I've never heard of an adult sport that's not, like, no, we don't need you. It's like, you don't even know me. So,
good point.
And they did that to two of my friends that are like they've won nationals before.
Right.
So it's like, all right, I don't think we want to be a part of anything like that anyway. So I've always gravitated towards these teams that are all inclusive.
Right. Gotcha.
Yeah.
That's interesting. No, but I can understand where you're coming from there for sure. Yeah. Something that comes up in cycling a fair amount is this idea that, and you'd mentioned it before, but in a different way, barriers of entry to participating. And, sometimes people perceive that cycling can kind of have a high cost of entrance once you get to a certain level.
Mm-hmm.
What's your sense of that? What's your sense of whether or not that maybe keeps people from participating? Or do you think that's not as big of a deal as some make it out to be?
No, I think it does.
Okay.
I've seen it over the past 6 years where we used to have, race entries in my group. There'd be like 65, 70 people, all different levels.
Mm-hmm.
People looking brand new.
Yeah.
People looking, that guy looks pretty fit.
Right.
down to like at the middle of this year, I'd see like 12 people in these races and all of them are fit. I don't see that constant regeneration of like a master's. I see it in the youngers, but I don't see that constant regeneration of like sort of like cause I came in when I was like 33, 34.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see that sort of like, you're almost a master's racer yet. You can still race in elites, but, I think it is expensive and I think it it can be expensive to maintain it if you're buying everything retail though.
Right.
So I think if you don't know the benefits of being in a club, to know that you don't have to pay full price on things that when you come together. But it's expensive. The price of a registration has gone up significantly. It's time away from families. So I definitely think that there's probably people that go, you know what, I could save a couple $1,000s this year if I just had nothing to do with that bike.
Right.
And I think people do make that decision.
Right.
And I think but for me, I don't pay for a gym membership or anything. So for me, the getting the bottles ready and making sure I have my kit ready and my shoes and my tires pumped up, that for me, that's my away time from the family. That's my competition. So for me, it's worth it. I might not, I haven't done like 20 plus races in like 2 seasons. Me and my family, we moved houses. I just wasn't into it anymore. And I tried to get back into it this year and I ended up crashing on a race. And that kind of like got me like not motivated for about 3 months while I was healing. And, but I still have that drive. But, so for me, it's worth all the money.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So that, we've talked a little bit about, cycling and certainly taking it quite seriously, racing and so forth. But, what would it be like if you didn't have bikes, whether you were racing or not? I mean, how important is riding at this point now that you've discovered it?
For me, it's very important.
Yeah.
I have a daughter that's 7 years old now. We live in a town, right in the center of town where we could walk everywhere, but realistically, we ride our bikes everywhere too. And now that I'm like rooted in Gilroy, like we're not moving, this is our family home, this is where I'm raising my daughter, and it's an old town that has a lot of newness around it that's been built, but in the center, like the school's right across the street. We have her middle school's, another 6 blocks down the road. And I mean, we can walk and bike everywhere. So for me, it feels like when I grew up, I feel like a kid again when I'm out with her. So, I mean, if you were to tell me like, okay, you can only walk places now, I would still be fine. but being on a bike, it's more freedom because you can go farther in less amount of time.
Right.
So, it's really important to me.
Yeah.
And it's really important that I pass that sense of freedom on of, teaching my daughter and like, her other friends that do the same thing. It's like, no, we're not going to drive you over there. Hop on your bike and go figure it out. You know how to get there.
Right. And they seem to kind of be embracing that now.
Oh yeah. No, they I think they do. Or, there's a big, I sit I'm the chair of the Bike and Ped Commission here in Gilroy. And, one of the big things we're trying to do right now is safe routes to school and get kids back on bikes, stop having congestion from the parents dropping them off, that kind of stuff. So we're thinking of all sorts of cool, creative ways, and one of them is a bike train. So it's basically a group ride for kids.
That's cool. I
don't know if you've ever seen one or heard of one, but they are awesome. And so we do that once a month now with the kids. And and the cool thing is that those kids that didn't want to do it before, or their parents that told them, no, you can't do that, we don't have time or whatever, the kids are slowly becoming the ones that are peer pressuring their parents.
Oh, interesting. So is there like an adult chaperone that kind of is there? Yeah. So it's like a bike party for kids.
Pretty much. There's a few of us.
Yeah.
And the first time we did it last year, we didn't get that many participants, but we did it this year, the kickoff. The principal was on my bike train. We had 2 moto officers escorting us. along with other adults. And at every stop, we only did a mile.
Yeah.
At every corner, there was like 12 people waiting for us.
Wow.
So we had the adults